What's up, guys? Today's a big day. I took the week off between Christmas and New Year's to finally tackle something I've been trying to do for a while now. As you guys have known, that I've always worked with BC Racing. They made one of the biggest differences on my drift car from what I can tell of anything else. So as far as making it work right, I have a set of custom DS series coilovers, which are digressive, on the drift car. Well, guys, the Aristo's getting the same treatment, which I'm super excited about. They built me a custom set of their Extreme series, which is good for a lower car. I'm not going to go crazy low, and there's other things that are going to come with doing the coilovers, but the spring rates they told me that they suggested were 12K front, 8K rear, so it should ride awesome. So what is it about the DS series coilover that is so special? Now, you guys know that BC is a great company. They're down in Florida. They work with a lot of big names in drifting and other forms of, racing, circuit racing, stuff like that. They build a custom coilover. The DS series coilover is special because of the way the valving is done. The valving is digressive, what is digressive? Digressive, more simply put, is like a variable valving, so that when you get a heavy hit on the suspension, large bump, that's a fast movement. So what the variable valving inside the strut or shock does is it tightens up automatically, and it absorbs that hit more aggressively. All right, so the faster it moves, the more aggressively it dampens. These are still adjustable, but the great thing is on these small hits, the just everyday dips and bumps in the road, the slower the strut moves, it's softer. So this is an ideal setup for a street car or race car. The Aristo, obviously you guys know, I've kind of nicknamed it Dad Bod because it is my family fun car. This is something that I drive, I pack the kids in, I pack my wife in, we all get packed into this car with all our stuff and go places. That was the whole point of this car. I wanted something fun that was Jay-Z powered, and this thing has really nailed it. Now, it kind of rides like a boat. It is an older car. The original shocks on this car are electronically dampened. I don't think they are variable as far as being able to change them on the fly to like a sport mode that I have found. Somebody may correct me, and I would love that, but they're still going away. The coilovers are going to allow us to drop the ride height a lot as well. Now, the DS coilover, they are individually adjustable for ride height and your spring preload. So that allows you to slightly change the preload a little bit. Now, I don't like to run a lot of preload on my springs. It changes the way that they work a little bit. I'm not a suspension expert at all. I don't claim to be. But everybody's told me start where you can just turn the spring and go from there, and that's always worked. So I leave that alone. It gives you a little bit more suspension droop. Allows it to move a little bit more that way. So the ride height adjustment is separate on these, so you don't mess with your spring preload when you drop the car. These struts are these shocks, coilovers, are going to be shorter than the factory strut, so it will already drop the car just as is. Now, they are height adjustable up and down, so they have holes that tell you where to stop going up. Basically just a go, no-go type setup. If you can't see threads, the coilover does not have enough thread engagement into the lower cup, so go lower. Now, in conjunction with these new coilovers, I have talked to a few people, and with these cars and the JZX 90s and 100s, a lot of people recommend a roll center adjuster. And what is that? It's kind of a bolt-on drop knuckle. It corrects some of your geometry when you lower the car, and it automatically lowers the car as well. So I'm going to end up extending the fronts more than likely to just compensate for the roll center adjusters. The ones I got were serial 9, and after talking to Hurt with his recent GS, it's a second gen GS build, very similar suspension setups. He said that he put them on, and all the serial 9 stuff has been great for him and for everybody else I've talked to. So I reached out to Toge Factory, and they had them in stock. Thankfully, I got them picked up. Check these things out. This is them. They basically bolt in place right here and lower the car. They come with bolts. Instructions, I believe, are online. So yeah, that's the project for today. It's going to be a bit of a project. It's a little cold in the shop today. It's been pretty cold here in Kentucky. We're gonna get started. Show you all these parts. Yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so one other thing that I really want to cover is actually what you need to do to prep the car. I suggest always making sure all of your suspension adjustments will move. If you cannot align the car after you put the coilovers on, you might as well have just left it alone. You will need to get your car aligned after you do your coilover install. And if the alignment shop or you cannot move your adjustments, you're going to be in trouble. So I suggest spraying all the bolts with some sort of rust penetrant, WD-40, Aerocoils, something of that nature. PB Blaster is a really popular one. Do it at least a week before you do your coilover install. Spray every bolt that could possibly need to be moved or adjusted. Then, before you actually start your coilover install, break everything loose and make sure it moves. For a Toyota, you typically need a 24 millimeter wrench and a 22 millimeter wrench. Sometimes you can use an adjustable wrench once you get everything broken loose to actually manipulate the eccentrics to make sure they move the way they're supposed to. So make sure you guys have all your points of adjustment moving before you put your coilovers on. That's going to be your pro tip for this install. All right, guys, so I have the lower control arm stuff all loose. The adjustment points do move. I started spraying those like a month ago, so you guys definitely want to do that. Basically where I'm at now is drop the sway bar. I've got the roll center adjusters, the serial 9 parts to put in. I've got those bolts loose. I'm not going to fully take them out until I am ready to drop the strut out. So right now I'm going to get all the struts on the ground. You guys will get to see the differences between the two, and we're going to go back. We're going to go back from there. So. The audio got a little bit messed up here, and we're going to go with some voiceover throughout the rest of this. The coilovers went in easier than the stock came out, and once you guys get the new coilovers in, you're going to want to even everything up and get to a really good starting point. You're going to want to check the ride height, and as sick as this looks, it's just a little too low for the needs of the actual car. Now, I decided I wanted to keep the stock strut bar, and thanks to BC, they offer a remote adjuster, which which basically what it is a flexible piece of cable and access that you wouldn't normally be able to access. So with the strut bar, I drilled a few holes and was able to feed the adjusters, the little cable, through the holes that I drilled. That made it to where I didn't have to pull the strut bar off to make any adjustments for the coilovers, which, depending on what you're doing, you're probably going to be playing with the adjustments a little bit here and there. Now on a daily driver like this, you probably will kind of get it to a good point and set it and forget it, but sometimes you load the car up more, or you're going to go do some spirited driving, or something of that nature, and you might want to stiffen the car up. So it's nice to have the adjustments available easily. Okay, so now that the wheels are on, the wheel spacers are on, I did want to show you guys the Serial 9 roll center adjusters, and this right here is how they work. They just go in between the stock lower ball joint and the knuckle, or I guess the knuckle is the lower ball joint on these, so I guess we should call it just the wheel bearing housing, I guess. But yeah, they just bolt in. They come with new longer bolts. They are a billet aluminum that's machined and anodized, and they give you your torque specs for your new bolt, and they just bolt right in place. Really nice. It really helps the geometry on these cars, and yeah, good to go. Now, this is where I settled for the final ride height. I did add some spacers to these wheels that just happened to work out for something else. So, Dad and I decided to go together to take this car to get it aligned, and we have a bit of a surprise for you, and that's what's next. Alright, so the new BC coilovers are on, the Serial 9 roll center adjusters, everything else is pretty much stock, everything is stock, but it needs an alignment really bad. So we're going to go out to Central Import Authority, see my buddy Eric. He's got a really nice alignment rack. He's going to get it to where everything's evened up. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly within like OEM specs, but a little bit of negative camber is not going to hurt anything. He's going to get all of the toe and everything where it should be. So I'll check back in with you guys once we get it up on the rack. Let you guys check out his shop a little bit, throw in some beauties of everything. Yeah, get the car aligned, see how it drives after, talk about things a little bit. Okay, so the new wheels are a period correct in my mind Racing Sparco Cheetah. The Serial 9 guys really love these wheels. Brian at LB Wheels just happened to get some in. They are a 19 by 8.5 and a 19 by 9.5. Pretty weak offsets, but you know what? The spacers do it justice. All right, just got done getting the car aligned. As you can see in the background, Eric did a great job. Believe it or not, it doesn't rub. So he has a nice cul-de-sac here that I figured I'd take some pictures. It's sunny, it's cold, but I'm super excited. Got the car aligned. Looks good with the new wheels. And yeah, look behind me. Little E46 with some VSKFs. Pretty sick. I don't know whose it is, but it's always out here, and it looks good. But yeah, so I guess I'm going to do a quick drive. I'm going to let Dad film on the way back to the shop. Let you guys know what the coilovers feel like. On the way out here, even with the adjustment and everything was terrible. Like, it needed an alignment really bad, and they rode awesome. So while we're driving, I'm going to let you guys, check out how this thing drives. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Honestly, I think it rides better now with the coilovers that are on it versus the stock stuff, as far as like feeling good. That's not too firm. Spring rates are really nice that they help me pick out, and I mean, I haven't even touched the dampening. So we'll play with dampening over the next however much time when I drive it, and yeah. You know, something that I was really surprised about is just how much caster this car actually calls for. He said it calls for over 7 degrees of caster stock, so the steering return on this car is going to be awesome. We ended up getting, it was like 3.5 degrees of negative camber in the front, and I think it was around 3 in the back. Just factory adjustment stuff, but the thing that I was really excited about was the fact that the lower control arms and tie rods are almost flat. So what that means is bump steer is not going to be an issue, and that's thanks to the Serial 9 roll center adjusters. They correct some of the geometry for the lower control arm and tie rod. So that's a really big improvement as far as like when you lower a car. Typically, it just kind of makes the alignment get kind of out of whack. When the suspension compresses, it might be in spec while you're driving or while you're sitting on flat ground, but then when you hit a bump, it puts it out of whack a little bit. So roll center adjusters actually, they correct some of that, so you don't have as bad of bump steer and stuff like that. So really happy I did that. That was a recommendation by Hurt. Picked those up from Toge Factory, and talked to the guys at Serial 9 about what they recommended as far as on this car, and they said that pretty much this is it. That's all I needed. Unless I wanted to correct any of the camber that I can't get out with the factory arms. But they were super helpful. Toge Factory is always super helpful, and they've always got stuff in stock. Yeah. So just driving this car, like normal bumps and stuff, and like, I mean, that was a pretty decent bump, and the dips and everything like that. Honestly, you almost can't even tell this thing has coilovers on it. It rides so good. Like I said, they picked out specific spring rates, or they helped me, because I told them what I was going to do with the car, and honestly, this thing rides as good, if not better, than the factory suspension, because it was old and kind of blown out. So VC coilovers, big thumbs up there. Huge upgrade over the stock stuff. It still rides like factory, like OEM plus. We'll call it sporty, but not rough. Super excited about that. Yeah, I think we're gonna get back to the shop. We're gonna run into a little bit of traffic here, so turn the camera off so we don't have to worry about that, and we'll close the video out when we get back to the shop. All right, we made it back to the shop. Car barely rubs, so we'll probably have to address that. I still have to address the wiring for the brake level warning. So brake fluid level warning. Yeah, I'm gonna have to address that. I'm gonna have to like basically pull it out of the harness that the original booster setup and everything like that used. Just depin everything and just use that that plug probably. Just have 2 wires just to connect it to the chassis and everything like that. Brakes feel really pretty good. They're a little bit different, about midway pedal as far as like where the actual like really hard stopping starts to work, which is a little bit different than what the original was, but that's okay. They feel good. Car drives great. Thanks to Eric at Central Import for getting it aligned today. Yeah, I'm excited to start driving it again. Got a lot more stuff coming. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. The car looks awesome with the new wheels, so thanks Brian for having cool wheels in stock. Yeah, I'm stoked. So I'll be seeing you guys soon. A lot more content. Hope you guys enjoyed. See ya.